how long does it take for you to like put a product into the market, or like let's say start selling your produce or start see some sort of results from the work that you've been putting for years? And maybe for like as a general advice or a rule that you might give for like new farmers who are going into organic, how long should they wait?
How long should they wait? Let me start by saying that one of the things I recommend for anyone who wants to go into organic farming right now, if the land is yours, then start with fruit trees. This is probably one of the most expensive advice that I would give anybody. Please pay me thousands of dollars for this information. The reason is that fruits are always in demand, and there is the general mindset that fruits take a while. But guess what? When I started Okwe Farms, a man had introduced a particular crop to me, and he told me the crop would take the next 8 to 10 years before it started fruiting. And I said, oh, no, 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 I can't wait. Guess what? I've been there 12 years. Imagine if I planted when he did, when he advised me. I would be smiling to the bank. So, for anybody who wants to succeed in organic farming and you want to break even faster, start with your fruit trees. You could make them around the perimeter of the farm. You could actually allocate a particular area and make it your orchard. But one thing you're sure of is that after 3 years, you will be harvesting. There are so many juice companies who are looking for fruits. I've had people come up to me and tell me things like, if you could plant pineapple for me, I would buy it. But you're talking of me buying suckers that will cost me probably about 2 million naira, and you don't want to put a dime down. It's not going to work that way. Yeah. So I would always tell people, if you can find people to collaborate with, so that you know that when the time comes, you already have off-takers for what you're planting. Another thing is, what does your market want? When I started, I didn't know what my market wanted. I just knew that I wanted to grow organic food. But luckily enough, in my research and in my conversations with people, they kept telling me things like, if we could have the vegetables that make up vegetable salad. So that meant your cucumber, your carrots, your lettuce, your cabbage, everything that could go into your salad plate. There is always market for it. There was a time we were supplying about 4 companies, lettuce and kale, then cucumbers. We were supplying them. In fact, one of the guys that we were supplying, he was supplying a top hotel on the island. He used to pay us in cash. So you take the vegetables there, he weighs it, and he pays you. You leave with them. He doesn't even give you a check. He gives you cash, because he also had people who, I think they pay him in cash for some other thing, and he pays you in cash. So I would say give yourself about 5 years, depending on maybe the acreage of the land that you have, depending on your market, and then you need to know, I would call them maybe the premium. We often hear people refer to it as exotic vegetables, okay. But if you can split the kind of things you do, so that if you were doing, for instance, kale, there was a time we did kale so much that people didn't believe it was kale. I still have the photo. You would see at least it was more than a plot of land. And we had buyers, because people believe that kale is supposed to be very good for cancer, for so many other things. Another thing that would make one cross the Rubicon early enough is if you go into processing, if you can process the things that you grow. So there was a time when we were inundated with kale, and somebody just said, could you dry the kale and then I can use it in my other products? And we started drying the kale. So when we started processing, it was out of desperation. It wasn't something that I thought, this would be nice to have. No, it was because we started seeing our production started getting better. People usually have this mindset that, with organic, you can't get much. You can't feed the world and all of those things. But one thing that I learned personally was the fact that the soil was beginning to respond to all the effort that we put into making it so rich. So what I've discovered is that at the start, things might be slow, but the minute you get it right, your soil is going to be so rich that you'll be the best for it. Yeah. Now, another thing that anybody going into organic farming can look into is that the world at large, the world wants organic food. People are more interested in. I remembered we met a lady called me out of the blues just before COVID, and she said, if you can grow organic ginger for me, I'm going to pay you 30% more than the market price. But then COVID came and we lost touch. So just think of the high ticket product or produce that you can grow. So today, if I had something like kale, of course, it costs much more. And really, people might not know when you're growing things like curly kale, because it curls, it takes its time. You know? Yes, and then there's some vegetables that are pretty cheap. You will know that whatever you do, you need to, mix and match so that you can make your money in good time. So if I had to start all over again, I definitely will do many things differently.